It's Friday, the 4th of September, and it's the first ever Friday night preview show live on the Seasiders Podcast. In tonight's show, we'll be looking ahead to Blackpool's pre-season friendly away at Premier League champions Liverpool. We'll also be stepping back in time to when the sides last met, with Blackpool famously beating the Anfield Giants, both home and away. And finally, we'll be speaking to lifelong Liverpool fan Kevin Brookman, who will be giving us an insight into Liverpool from a Liverpool fan perspective. I'm Sam Fielding, and this is a Seasiders Podcast Friday night preview show. Tradition. Hello and good evening, and welcome to the Seasiders Podcast Friday night preview show. It's a new feature on the Seasiders Podcast and one we're all looking forward to, and what a show we have lined up this evening. And I'm delighted to introduce Nick Smith to the first ever one. Nick, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Sam. It's great to be here. This exciting new feature.
Again, this feature is going to go out every Friday. Obviously, it's the first show. We'll look to hopefully go live at 9 p.m. Every Friday, with this being the first, and also looking ahead to the Plymouth game next weekend. So,
and I'm lurking here in the background. You may recognise this voice.
I was waiting for that.
Yes, listeners, John's here. I'm here, helping Sam out, pressing a few buttons, but I'll leave him to it. So away you go, Sam.
That's all he's doing. I was waiting for that heckling in the background.
Get off, you're rubbish. Get him off.
We do obviously want to get people's comments in and get fans engaging on here. So make sure if we're talking about a certain topic, do leave a comment on your platform and we'll try and read them out. Alison, thank you for the good luck message. But Nick, we're here to preview the game on Saturday, the Liverpool friendly. On Wednesday, Blackpool Football Club announced that the pre-season friendly match against Liverpool will take place. One, Nick, I'm guessing that maybe we were expected to be announced earlier with Neil Critchley's relationship with Liverpool.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think when he first took over, thoughts turned to, well, first of all, I suppose, what players potentially we might be able to get in on loan, and then would there be a friendly? And I think there was rumours first started last weekend. I saw a few bits on social media, and there was a few people tweeting the club asking, "Is it going to happen?" And we were waiting, and then, like you say, I think it was Wednesday they finally announced it. So it's great, isn't it, to play the Premier League champions? Hopefully, it'll be a strong side and a good test for us.
Obviously, with a week to go into the League One campaign and a few days to go until they play Barrow, on Tuesday night. Is it a chance now for Critchley to really put his stamp on that starting 11?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be interesting to see what our starting lineup is going to be, because we still don't know possibly what our best 11 is yet, and we keep signing a player every day. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does, whether he'll give it 70 minutes with the same players and then make wholesale changes. I'm not sure what the rules are going to be around subs, or whether he'll do it at half time. I dare say there will be a few changes, because he'll still be looking at, there's players who've only just signed in the last few days who he'll probably want to have a proper look at least probably 45 minutes. So should be interesting. And as well, from a Liverpool perspective, there've a few players away on international duty, but you look at who's left and it could still be a very, very strong lineup.
I don't want to be Michael. I wouldn't want to be Nottingham playing centre half against Firmino, Mane and Salah. But I'll read the Blackpool press release out that came. But Blackpool will play Premier League champions Liverpool on Saturday, the 5th of September, to conclude their pre-season schedule. The game will be live to supporters via an enhanced live streaming and TV production, similar to that one of Everton. The stream will include a multi-camera action, in-game replays, match graphics, full commentary, post-match reaction, and that match pass will only cost $5.99. Nick, is it one that you'll be watching on Saturday?
I certainly will, yes. I think I'll be around at John's house. You will? Charging him entry.
Here he is again. Here he is.
He did, yeah. He'll be at the door. Get me fiver out. Yeah, it's not one you want to miss, is it? It's a pity, like with all games at the moment, we can't be in there seeing it live, but this is the next best thing. It sounds like it's going to be a
a professional setup, and a decent standard. So it'll be good.
Yeah, but we've managed to grab a video footage of Neil Critchley's pre-match interview. It's only a few minutes long, but here's what he had to say.
Great game to look forward to. Going to the Premier League champions. We're privileged that we got the invitation to go. They could have played numerous teams, and I'm sure everyone would have dived at that opportunity to play against Liverpool at this stage, though a week before the Premier League season starts. So to go and play against the Premier League champions in their stadium is a great opportunity for us.
And it's a big moment for you as well personally, obviously being there last season and a few seasons before with the under-23 coach.
Yeah, but it's about us. It's about the staff. It's about the players going to play against some fantastic players in a wonderful stadium. Even though it is a pre-season game, it'll be a proper game. They'll have top quality players on show, and just an iconic stadium, fantastic place, and a great chance for us to go and practice and prepare against really good opposition how we want to play. So it'll be extremely tough, but we want tough games. We've had some really tough games pre-season. I think we've benefited from that, and you don't get any tougher than Liverpool in their stadium.
Yeah, that's Neil Critchley there speaking ahead of the game on Saturday. Nick, I know we've briefly touched on it there, but Neil Critchley there was saying that it's going to be a good test for his side, knowing that the season's coming. It's going to be attack versus attack, isn't it, really, on Saturday? And that's one that fans will be excited to watch.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments and David Jackson's message and said, will it be attack versus attack? Quite possibly. You look at, like we said before, their players who are still there. They're formidable, aren't they? They're very, very quick at breaking, absolutely lightning. But then so are we. They've not seen CJ Hamilton yet, so that's real pace. It's going to be interesting. I mean, we're probably going to spend a lot of the game not with the ball, so it'll be interesting to see how we do when we've not got it. Are we going to have a high line defensively? I just hope that we do give a good account of ourselves in it, and we don't end up getting beat 6 or 7-0, and it being a bit of knocking the morale down a bit. Hopefully we'll give a good account of ourselves, but I certainly don't think we're going to go there and try and defend, because I don't think that's the way we're going to play. We're going to try and press, get on the ball and get it to the wide men and use that pace. Whether we can do that against the Premier League champions remains to be seen, but I think that's what we'll be trying to do, definitely.
I was looking at some of their pre-season games very early on after lockdown. Was eased that they played Blackburn and won 6-0. Again, like I said before, that's not what we want to see as Blackpool fans, and not what the players want to experience going into a season where the real potential.
Yeah, definitely. It's really still about fitness pre-season, isn't it? I've seen us have terrible pre-seasons and get promoted, and very good pre-seasons and get relegated. But you do also want that momentum to continue. We gave a very good account of ourselves against Everton. Although we conceded 3 after being 3 up, we still could have gone on to win the game. I think this will be a different type of test against Liverpool, but yeah, hopefully we can just go and give a good account of ourselves.
Just reading some of the comments here, and Sean's put one on. I'll put it on the screen so we both can see. It'll be a great chance to see how the current defence will stand up against tougher test or opponents, I guess. Both centre halves, he says, look shaky against Stoke and need to prove themselves. And there's no better place to prove yourself than the 3 up top of Firmino, Salah, and Mane.
Yeah, that really is going to be a test. Whichever centre halves end up playing. I think it's probably one of the areas, or the one area, where I'd like to see some experience come in. We're signing a lot of young players, which is brilliant, and looks good that you're going to have a squad of players together for probably the next 3, 4, 5 years. But I think at centre half, it's just one of those positions where you need somebody with a bit of experience. I mean, Thornley's in there and he's got championship experience. It's still relatively early days for him, though. I think particularly if Ekpateta's playing, he needs someone alongside him. I'd just like to see someone come in, whether maybe they're 32, 33, they've been there and done it, and they can just give him a bit of guidance and help him along when he maybe does have those shaky moments, because he's certainly got potential, but it looks like they've also got a mistake in them as well, which, you can't afford to have against a side like Liverpool.
Certainly, that's true. But during the week, I managed to speak to a lifelong Liverpool fan, Kevin Bruckerman, about the game, looking a little bit back in the past of the 2 games in the Premier League season, and his thoughts on Liverpool and what they can achieve in the 2020-21 season. Maybe go off. Take it off. Yeah. Do we change? I'm still hearing it. Well, apologies for that. We assumed everyone could hear it. You can do all these tests in the pre, but then when it comes to live, a couple of ghosts and gremlins in the system. But we'll hopefully try and get that back in, because it was a great in-depth interview talking stories of players of the past who have played for both Blackpool and Liverpool. So again, apologies to all those, but now I think we've got it back. This is what you do when you leave the production guru, should we say, in charge. But if we give it another go, and if you do hear the audio, do let us know.
It wouldn't be the Seasiders podcast without a balls up.
An error, everyone. When I come in and there's no errors.
First show ever, folks. So do bear with. We're living and learning. Right, here it is anyway. It'll work this time. I promise.
First of all, just tell us a bit about how you got supporting Liverpool.
I suppose, like any sort of son, you follow your father or your grandfather's interests in football. And mine grew out of my grandfather being born and raised and living most of his life at Tinsley Street, which for any Liverpool fan would know is right on the corner of the old main stand and the Kop. So the left-hand side there, he'd come out the backyard. There were no gardens in that time, and he'd kick a ball against the Kop exit door. So my dad and his 2 brothers followed that, and ultimately, you grew up and followed what you had supported, and got a real connection. And my sort of aunt, who was sort of my dad's sister, remained there all her life. She was a spinster, never married, stayed there. So it was always a bolt hole, to go to the game. You she'd put the cones or the ladders out, and you'd park the car 50 yards from the game, and you'd sort of queue up to pay in the cop as it was, and sort of standing then, and you'd go back and see her afterwards. So a real connection to the ground and the facilities, and that sort of spun out. It's quite sort of strange, really, how my first game was Leeds United, probably around 73, 74. I think it was a great 0-0 draw. They were the two sides right at the peak of their powers at the time, with sort of Shankly and Don Revie in particular as the two powerhouses of English football. I just hope the start of this season isn't a 0-0 draw in a few weeks' time. But great to see Leeds back in the Premiership, and so great to see Premiership football back as well.
Obviously, being a Liverpool fan, it's been frustrating 30 years. Last season was very successful, you have to say. Talking about Jurgen Klopp and the way he's been at Liverpool for the last 5 years, what's he brought to the city of Liverpool? Not just the football club, but what has he done to the community?
Well, what he's done is he's ingratiated himself within the community. He lives locally. He is approachable. He's contactable. He has been seen visiting Crown Green bowling clubs locally and asking to know how to play the game. He's stood and watched a girls' football game not far from where he lives recently, and they stopped the game, so all of the actual players went over and sort of greeted him last season. And the person that I think you see on the touchline or in the interview is exactly the same person that you see in real life. Jamie Carragher tells a good story about he was in a taxi to Lime Street a couple of years ago, and it was an Evertonian taxi driver. And he says, the one thing I really hate about Jurgen Klopp is I actually like him. And, he's a likable guy, and that's opposition fans talking about him. So he's brought a real presence. He's got a huge bubbly personality. He cares for his players. Listen, he's a hard taskmaster. You see that on the sidelines. You don't do what he wants. He's got no qualms about telling you that. But, he must be a joy to play for. And you see that in the never say die attitude. He's got a captain who'll do anything for him, and they play that way. So, the last couple of years has been really sort of bringing the focus that he's had on the 5 years he's been with us to create that team environment. And he's all about the team. And it's something that Neil Critchley can bring to Blackpool. It'll be great news for Blackpool moving forward.
You touched on there, when Jurgen Klopp took over, it took him a bit of a transition period, getting players in and out. Did you see 5 years on from then that he and Liverpool would be lifting the Premier League trophy?
Well, it's been an amazing last 2 to 3 years in reality of how we've played. But if you look at the transition of the side, amazingly, I think there's 2 players in his first squad who are still at the club today. Divock Origi and James Milner. Adam Lallana played in his first game at Tottenham away. It's a 0-0 draw. But Sir Adam's obviously left and gone to Brighton, with the supporters' best wishes, and we wish him well. But there's only those 2 players left who were playing that day. Henderson was injured for Klopp's first game, but he's changed the whole squad and the whole team around. But the thing about Jurgen Klopp is he buys players for the team. He doesn't buy individuals for the squad. And the way that we play is based around a team environment. So it takes time. It takes transfer windows. People think you've been lucky. Well, I don't think we've been lucky. You make your own luck, and you buy the right individual. You buy who fits into that team environment. And what we've got at Liverpool is we've got a tremendous dressing room. We've got leaders in that dressing room, whether it be James Milner or Jordan Henderson or Virgil van Dijk. You've got talkers. And I think, it's often said in sport, what the manager does lead the dressing room. It's up to the players to control the dressing room. So I think with the leaders that we have there, we got a real benefit. And that's up to, well done to the club for bringing those individuals in.
Touching on the manager, and obviously Blackpool in March got Neil Critchley to come from Liverpool's under-23s. Do you think that might be a style or a kind of the dressing room that he might create at Bloomfield Road, a similar environment to what he might have seen Jurgen Klopp make at Liverpool?
No, very much so. What a great sort of background he's had. Obviously, he wanted to put his toes into management, but he's had a fantastic upbringing. He was fully involved in the Liverpool setup. He was probably involved in mainly the youth side, the under-23. He's not like the old reserve times. It's a lot of youth players, but Neil Critchley was fantastic in the games that he was in charge last year for the club, massively supported by the spectators and the whole club. And again, wish him well. I think he'll adopt that style of play, certainly, that Jurgen Klopp looked for. He looks for sort of skillful players who can be athletic, both with and without the ball. And I think you can see that style of play coming through. I mean, obviously, you've had a recent 3-3 draw against our near neighbours Everton, and I believe the first sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, Blackpool were excellent.
Do you think there's a strong possibility that Critchley might dive into Liverpool's under-23s, maybe under-18s, and try and bring some of those players to Blackpool, knowing that they're going to play a very similar style to Jurgen Klopp?
Oh, very much so, and I think it's a tremendous opportunity for both clubs to benefit. Obviously, there are both different spectrums of the game, but I think league experience is vital for players. You look at, say, Harry Wilson, use him as an example. Whereas you went to Derby, he played really well at Derby. Liverpool then said they wanted him to step up. He went to Bournemouth. He's played really well at Bournemouth. He's come back to Liverpool, and all of a sudden, people talk about sort of transfers, and you haven't had any. Well, maybe the fact that Harry Wilson, who's come back from a Premier League club, could go into our top three and do that. But I think certainly maybe for a younger player, the opportunity to go and play 40 or 50 games, at senior men's level, would be an outstanding opportunity. And Neil Critchley knows those players. So in reality, if positions that he knows that Blackpool need to actually strengthen, I think he'll know if there's a player of his ability at Liverpool. I'm sure, precedent in the last couple of years has seen Steven Gerrard take Shea Ojo and Ryan Kent up to Rangers. Steven knew those as players in his time at the club. And look where Ryan Kent is now, being offered Leeds putting a sort of 10, 12, 15 million pound bid in for him. So, opportunities, hopefully for the youngsters to benefit from senior football.
Just looking ahead to the Saturday's pre-season friendly, it's been, I think, 54 years since Liverpool last beat Blackpool. I know it was a friendly, so teams might be different, but again, it's going to be a good game between two attacking sides, and one that I'm sure both managers will be going full strength with the season only 6 days away for Liverpool and 7 for Blackpool.
Very much so. I mean, obviously it'll be 2 weeks from the Arsenal game to the Leeds opener in the Premiership. But whether or not a lot of sort of Blackpool fans do know this, Liverpool will be extremely strong, I think, on Saturday. There's only really European sort of nations football being played. There are no international friendlies in South America, in Asia, or in Africa. So I think our front six could be sort of Fabinho, Keita, Jordan Henderson coming back from injury, Mana, Salah and Firmino. With Alisson in goal, so plus others as well. So we will be very strong. Whether those players play for 60 or indeed the full 90 minutes, great opportunity for the Blackpool players to play at Anfield. But I think Liverpool will be strong, and hopefully that 54 years sort of will finish, and we'll be able to get one over on Blackpool. Yeah, not that we've played many times in the last 54 years, Sam.
Well, talking about that, obviously I want to look back to the 2010-11 season, last time Liverpool and Blackpool played against each other. The first game at Anfield, I believe you were at that game. I think it was early October. Blackpool went there and won 2-1. What are your kind of, I say, maybe bad memories of that afternoon at Anfield?
The infectious, enthusiastic Blackpool support. Tangerine shirts everywhere, and it's probably for all of the Blackpool fans who were there a day they'll never forget. But Blackpool played extremely well on the day. Charlie Adam was one of the goal scorers for Blackpool that day. Ultimately ended up signing for Liverpool. So in that sense, maybe we got a good player who helped us over the last couple of years. But great day for Blackpool, and Blackpool, as well as Notts Forest, are one of the only two sides, Sam, that Liverpool have never beaten in the Premiership. So in all of the years that we've been in it, and a question I'd love to see is I'd love to see Blackpool back in the Premiership so we can maybe break that record with Blackpool one day.
Maybe that stat might stay quiet for a few more years, but again, a good stat. But again, the second leg, I don't know if you managed to get to the Fylde Coast that think it was a Wednesday evening. Again, Liverpool go ahead. Torres, it's Kenny Dalglish's first game back in charge of Liverpool. And again, just Liverpool, good start, but Blackpool come strong towards the end and win 2-1.
It is. You mentioned two icons there. Kenny Dalglish, Sir Kenny Dalglish, and Fernando Torres. Fernando Torres playing at Bloomfield Road. Fantastic. I remember us going 1-0 ahead. But again, Blackpool fought back, scored the goal, got back in the game, and then nicked the winner. I think it was late on, maybe, but deserved the victory again, took 6 points off Liverpool.
We touched on Charlie Adam, obviously making the move to Liverpool in 2011 after a great season, or debut season in the Premier League. But one player that I've been told that stood out and lifted Liverpool's first ever European Championship or trophy was Emlyn Hughes. And I've heard you've got a bit of a story about him.
Oh, very much so. I mean, Liverpool and Bill Shankly were after Emlyn Hughes for actually a number of years before he actually signed in 1967. Obviously born in Barrow, and he played for Blackpool, I think as a 17-year-old. I think the Blackpool manager at the time was a gentleman called Ron Stewart. And Bill Shankly would always ring Ron Stewart up and say, we want Emlyn, and Ron Stewart wouldn't actually allow that to happen. But in the background, Bill was always ringing Emlyn on a Sunday morning to tell him, one day, son, one day you'll sign for Liverpool. Well, sort of in 1967, February 1967, Blackpool sacked Ron Stewart, and Liverpool realised that their opportunity had to come then. So ultimately, they approached Blackpool. They gave an offer of £65,000, and ultimately the clubs agreed. And Bill Shankly drove to Blackpool to pick Emlyn up and put him in his car. Well, the story is that Bill Shankly actually wasn't a very good driver, and had sort of Emlyn in the front seat of the car. Went through a set of red lights and ended up crashing just on the outskirts of Blackpool. The police were called, and the police said, excuse me, can you get out the car? And Bill Shankly said, do you not realise that we have the England captain in the car? We've got to get to Anfield. And the policeman looked in the car expecting to see Bobby Moore. And he said, there's no England captain in there. He said, he will be one day, son. And he let Bill off, and all of a sudden the rest is history. And all of a sudden Emlyn Hughes became one of the greatest players in Liverpool's history. Personally, he'd get in my top 11. He was just an outstanding player. I think 665 games, 49 goals. And if you looked at some of the goals that he scored, they were left foot, right foot, headers, long range, short range, outstanding athlete. And again, it's sort of a story that sort of has gone down the years. Bill Shankly needed an icon in the late 60s, the mid-60s side who'd got to the Cup Winners' Cup final, won the league, won the club's first FA Cup against Leeds in 1965, was coming to an end. So we played Emlyn at sort of left back at the latter half of the 67 season. And he got his nickname Crazy Horse by rugby tackling an opposition player who was coming down the wing in one of his first games. So he became a cop idol from then, and he remained so for the 12 years he played at the club. Great player. What would he be worth today?
Yes, that was... there we go. Me and you are back now, Nick. Let's get the right layout in there. That was an interview with Kevin Brookman, a lifelong Liverpool fan. Again, a huge thanks to Kevin for speaking to us, and obviously wish him all the best, and also Liverpool, who'll be looking to attack the Premier League again once this season. Nick, one of the main features that he talks about there, we discussed, was the games against Liverpool in the Premier League season. Blackpool and Liverpool have met 43 times in all competitions, but that night, we'll go to the last game at Bloomfield Road, under the floodlights. What a night it was for Blackpool fans.
Oh, unbelievable. One of the best nights ever. And there's something special about night games, whether it's at home or away. There just seems to be, I don't know, just more atmosphere. And I remember, like you said, it was Kenny Dalglish's first game, and I sat on pretty much on the halfway line in M Block, and just behind the dugouts, and there was just this kind of row of photographers at the away dugout, just filming, taking pictures of Kenny Dalglish, and nobody in front of the home dugout. And I remember shouting down saying, Holloway's the legend here, not Kenny Dalglish. But yeah, all the focus is on him. And, they had a great start, good goal from Torres. And you think, here we go. And it wasn't a great Liverpool side compared to what it is now, but they still had some world-class players. But we just did what we did in the Premier League and never gave up. And we kept pressing and playing our game. Varney slotted GTF through, showed his magic feet and finished really well. I remember he ran over to the side and one of his friends who was a Macclesfield player had just passed away. And I remember him showing his T-shirt with a message to him because he was an Everton fan, I think. And so that was quite poignant. And yeah, we just kept going. And second half, I think it was a diagonal ball, Evo headed it or crossed it, and DJ was there to make it 2-1. And it was fully deserved. We weren't hanging on or anything. Both of those games, home and away, will just, live long in the memory.
Yeah, again, listeners, if you want to get your memories in from either Liverpool game, do put them in the comments section and we'll try and get as many on the screen as possible. But you talked there about a deserved win. That game at Anfield in October it was. Again, the Liverpool fans were applauding the Blackpool players after the final whistle. And would you, knowing you've supported Blackpool a lot longer than me, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that would ever happen?
No, not, even when we were in the Premier League, you just think it's one of those games where you're not looking at Liverpool home or away and thinking that's 6 points. You're looking at the teams around the bottom who are around you. And again, it was fully deserved. We were absolutely brilliant. I did my usual and managed to miss. Well, I think I'd nipped down to the loo and there's someone say, we've got a penalty, and ran back up for that. And then I might have missed the second as well. John will probably remember better than we. We went on a coach well, I say a coach, it was a double-decker bus.
You're not allowed to tell this story, Nick.
From St Anne's. And, we'd had a few. And on the way back, we stopped at the Lane Ends pub in Kirkham and had a quick party.
Toilet break as well.
Yeah, it was. It was literally just get in, be as quick as you can and get back out. And we managed to leave John behind. I just remember getting a text. He rang me and...
where are you?
He just said, tell that driver to turn that bleeping bus round this minute, which he didn't do. And he's still angry about it to this day. But yeah, it was a great day. And both of them, home and away, 2 fully deserved victories and the stuff of dreams,
I think normally I'd have been absolutely raging at being left in Kirkham without my phone had actually run out of juice as well. So there was no way to phone anyone to say, come and pick me up. So I remember I had to go into the pub, ask some complete strangers for some money so I could phone someone. And then you don't know people's phone numbers anymore, do you? So I think I had to relay a message via my mum's home phone number to girlfriend at the time to come and pick me up. I'm stuck in the Lane Ends. But yeah, it was the fact that we'd beaten Liverpool away that kind of took the edge off that, and I wasn't too mad. I wasn't as mad as I would be in normal circumstances. Yeah, great days, eh?
Look back on it fondly, John.
Yeah. I was going to say, one thing that sticks into my mind is that famous picture of the scoreboard when 90 minutes are up, Liverpool 1, Blackpool 2. Just these memories, Nick, that no one can take away from us now, can they?
No, despite, everything that happened afterwards in subsequent years, you can look back on it and, just amazing memories. Yeah,
we've got a comment here from David Jackson. He said, seeing the Liverpool fans clap us off, it was great to see. And again, I think we both would agree with that comment. Just those Premier. Hopefully, the good times are back, and I'm sure under Neil Critchley that will be the case. So again, keep your comments coming in if you've got any memories of the Liverpool games, not just in the Premier League season, but from way back to whenever we last met. But what we're going to look onto now, again, we touched in the interview, is that players who have played for both teams. And one player that I'm going to start off with is Charlie Adam. Obviously, the kind of player that's gone to Blackpool, or from Blackpool to Liverpool. And after, 2.5 years it was on the Foul Coast, the Reds snapped Charlie up for a 6.75 million, where he was a regular in his first season, helping Liverpool finish 8th in the league table and winning the League Cup against Cardiff at Wembley. But unfortunately for Charlie, he did miss a penalty that afternoon, so that's something he won't want to be reminded about. But again, in those 37 appearances for Liverpool, scoring 2 goals, was it the move that Charlie hadn't deserved after his time at Blackpool?
Oh, definitely. I think we knew it was coming. I remember watching the transfer deadline, evening, it went right through to 11 o'clock, and there was all sorts of rumours happening. At one point that he was originally going to go to Spurs, but that didn't happen, and he obviously ended up at Liverpool. I dare say there'd been a number of clubs looking at him for what he did for Blackpool. He was our talisman, wasn't he? He was, amazing passing range. I think it was Fergie who said his corners are worth £1 million alone. He might be disappointed with, how it turned out there. Probably didn't get the goal return he wanted. But, an amazing opportunity for him, and you couldn't begrudge him that opportunity. He was always going to go on to bigger things at the time, and it was fully deserved.
Yeah, maybe he might be in the famous Tangerine again. We'll have to wait and see if Mr. Sadler will open his checkbook and bring Charlie back. But we can see. Again, do keep your comments in. If you know any players that we might have missed off who have played for both, do let us know and we'll read those out. But again, Ricky Lambert's one that I found who played for both. Part of Liverpool's youth academy, left Merseyside to join Blackpool in 1998. I thought he might have made a few more appearances, but he only made 3 for Blackpool before being released in 2000. But again, you look at his career in the Football League and then in the Premier League with Southampton. He didn't have a bad one, did he, Nick?
He didn't, and I think it was probably a missed opportunity for us when you look back on it. I think it was Steve McMahon at the time who was manager, and I think we'd had a decent youth team at the time, and they pretty much all got released. And you look at what he went on to do, and you think it's a missed opportunity, whether it was financial reasons or not, I don't know. But one that slipped through the net, really.
Any other players that you can maybe think of? Obviously, I've got a list here. Any players that you know played for both Liverpool and Blackpool?
Well, the obvious one, there's Tom Ince, came from Liverpool, did very, very well for us.
Who was that goalie who used to just punch all the time? We used to call him Mr. Punch. He was like their third choice goalie, and he played for us as well. He was, I think he went into Australia. Brad Jones?
Oh, Brad Jones,
Brad Jones.
Brad Jones. He went there afterwards, didn't he? Yeah.
Some researcher you are, Sam. You're sacked.
Well, I've just done a few to make the listeners, and you bring yourself in.
There
you go, Nick. Brad Jones. There you go.
Brad Jones. That can be yours.
Free.
Yes. Yeah, Gerardo Bruni. You've got another one there on the list who. I think
you're not meant to read off the list. You're meant to have done your own, Nick. Come on.
No, I'm joking. I remember at the time, I think we might have done a podcast on this, John. Did we not sign a couple of others the same day from someone who'd been at Real Madrid? And I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing, but it just never really worked out for him, did it? I don't think he played much for us at all.
No, I've got played 4 times at Blackpool. His debut being away at Sheffield Wednesday in the Carling Cup. Good game to go there and finish goalless. But then I think it's one of his last games was back at Hillsborough in the FA Cup where Blackpool won 3-0. I think Loire and Ludo Sylvester scored in that game, and a good night. Again, one that we spoke about on the interview was Emlyn Hughes. Obviously, sadly, no longer with us, but he started his career at Blackpool in 1964, as Kev alluded to, before moving to Liverpool in 1967. 665 appearances for the Reds. Again, this just goes to show that there's a good... It's not bad, is it? And you look at some of the stats as well. To add to his 4 league titles, an FA Cup victory in the 70s, 2 European Cups, and he did lift the first Liverpool European trophy. Again, won the Footballers' Right of Player of the Year award in 1977. Is it good, going slightly away from this, is it good, Nick, that Blackpool have got this kind of relationship with Liverpool? I know it extends back here, but that now with Critchley in charge, that they could potentially be looking at players to bring on loan or potentially on a permanent transfer?
I mean, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? You'd like to think so. He's obviously Neil Critchley's very highly thought of at Anfield. Did really well there with the younger players, so he'll know all about them, and I'm sure he'll be having conversations to say, who's available, who could we get in, whether it's a month, 6 months, or for a whole season. You would like to think it would happen. I thought it might have happened sooner than now, but there's obviously still a bit of time to go in the transfer window, and lots of clubs are still doing bits of business, so it kind of has a chain reaction, doesn't it? So it could still happen, and I think as long as Neil Critchley's there, we can carry on and build that relationship as we go forward.
Just one kind of other player I want to touch on, John Joe Shelvey, one that for me stood out when he came on loan in 2011. The next day, the day after joining us, he scored in the 5-0 win against Bristol City at home, and then scored his first hat-trick away at Leeds. One other great away day that was. And Nick, John, he's gone on to be great for Liverpool, but also Newcastle recently. And again, just goes to show the calibre of players that could be loaned to Blackpool in the future that can go on and have a long-lasting career.
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he? He had a very kind of relaxed style about himself, and sometimes he'd do nothing for 15 or 20 minutes, and you'd think, oh, he's drifting out the game, and then he'd just do something that was absolutely, brilliant. He had an amazing range of passing, great shot on him, and like you say, that Leeds away game particularly he was absolutely brilliant for us. I mean, if we could get a player of his ability in on loan, I think that would be the probably the final piece of the jigsaw.
In some respect, do you think achieving promotion back to the Championship would entice more Liverpool players to make that step down, knowing that the level that they're playing at is quite a high standard?
Yeah, I think the higher up you are, the more chance you've got of bringing in a better caliber of player. I'm sure they've got under 23 players who are ready to step up to league football, whether that's League One or the Championship, and not just a club like Liverpool, but any team. If you're in the Championship, you can attract better players. So Simon Sadler said that is the aim, whether it's this coming season or the one after. You're looking at the recruitment over the last sort of month or two. You'd say that I think they're probably going for it this season by the looks of it, which is great. Just hopefully we'll be in the ground to watch it.
Another player, Gary Ablett. Bisons have got a comment in there. I'm not too sure, to be fair. That probably goes.
He's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Also means something else.
End of his career.
Also has another implied meaning, but we won't go into that on here.
Yeah, it's a good job I don't know much, is it?
Anyone who's around in the 90s knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, moving swiftly on.
We'll just take that comment off the screen. Yeah, we talked about there, obviously players moving on. We want to kind of get some of the listeners' comments in before we bring this to a show. And Phil, Ricky, hopefully it fits on. He said, my middle boy Charlie was born the day after the Anfield win. Wife went into labour early and couldn't get hold of me. I was stuck in Liverpool on the lash after missing my train. Nearly got divorced. Great memories.
Nice one, Phil.
Again, this is what the show's all about, getting the listeners and Blackpool fans involved in the show. So make sure you keep your comments up. Comments coming in, shall we say. Obviously, this is going to be a regular feature. But yeah, I don't want to go on too much longer because I want to keep it an under hour, unlike the other podcasts on the Seasiders Podcast shows. No dig there.
All that other load of rubbish they speak. You don't want to replicate it on air.
Keep it under an hour. That's my main thing. But Nick, we'll bring it to a close. It's been actually, I forgot one section. I'm going to ask for your score prediction for Saturday's game. I know it's really got not relevance in terms of points or anything, but what are your score predictions?
I do think we'll get beat, but I think we'll give a good account of ourselves. I'm going to go 4-2 to Liverpool.
4-2 to Liverpool. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. Again, this could be a feature that Nathan Eccleston, that's a great shout for a former Liverpool and Blackpool connection. Thank you for getting those in. If anyone remembers him, yeah, good striker. Bison thinks it's going to be 4-2 as well to Liverpool.
Put
John?
predictions on the screen, Sam.
Put predictions. This is where my
No, you're on them. Click
I was
comments.
on.
Yeah. Go back. That's it.
I'll click these. I
So,
thought you meant the
there you
comment.
go. Yeah.
So we've got here Bison's 4-2. We've also got, I'll keep moving up these. Allison thinks it's going to be 2-1 to Liverpool.
Dad say.
Dad said 5-2 to Liverpool, a high-scoring game.
I was going to say 5-1.
I don't know.
2-1 Blackpool. That would be a great result.
2-1 Blackpool. Oh, she put one before. Must have changed her mind. Or she went Blackpool to win first time. That'd be great if Blackpool could go and win at Anfield. But David, thank you for your comments saying great show on a dull Friday night. I'm glad we can keep your spirits up before the weekend starts. But that's going to be us. We're just under 50 minutes here on the first ever Friday night preview show on the Seasiders podcast. A huge thank you to Nick, also Kev, who joined us for the interview. As I said, Blackpool do take on Liverpool on Saturday, the 5th of September, with only a week to go until the start of the new Sky Bet League One campaign. There's a lot of excitement in and around the Foul Coast. See you next week.